Da, 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 da.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to the Sun Dragon Sideshow.
The Adventures of Liz and Rebecca.
I figured out I just need to say it faster and not like wait to get over here, or else you're like, dead hair, I gotta fill it. Ah! That's what I imagine is going on in your head.
That's probably what's going on.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm the owner of Sun Dragon Art and Fiber, and I'm looking past the beaded dragon cowl to see outside. In kind of overcast and misty and probably going to be rainy Brevard, North Carolina.
I'm Liz. I'm the minion there.
It is not perfect. It is tilted, but I don't care. I don't think anyone can really tell, except for me, and I just told everybody. So it's fine, though. It's good. She said it's perfect. Is there such a thing as perfect?
I don't know if it's supposed to be rainy, but...
That's going to bother me, but I really don't want to go fix it. It's not supposed to be rainy today? Because those storm clouds looked awfully yucky.
They're just misty.
Okay. We'll go with that today.
I mean, there's a less chance of rain than there has been, so...
Anyway. So, moving on. I'm all out of sorts. I had a weird morning. I will tell you about it at the end of this episode. Because I want to do our normal routine first and not, like, talk too much.
What?
As is my want. Yeah, depending on how much it rains, we may or may not put the tent up then.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it feels like it's been forever since we've been here, but I think it's just because it was Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
And our hours weren't any different than normal, but the White Squirrel Festival day, it was 2 days, 2.5. We were only here for like one of them, and it was enough. It was a long day, so yeah.
It was a busier day than we thought it would be.
I know. We keep saying that festival days mean we don't really get much of any business, and then we had people actually coming in, and some of them were actually spending money. I'm not going to complain, because usually I'm complaining about how bad festival days are. Anyway, so, in honor of that, this is the one thing I'll show off before you start. In honor of that, I made a white squirrel hat. I'm going to get the old one. I've been wanting to make a new sample for a while. I will fill you in more on the details of this when it's my turn, but I like Liz to go first. So I have rules sometimes. So I'm going to get the hat, but you tell people what you did this weekend. I didn't accomplish a whole lot to bring into the shop just because I spun this weekend. So I made watermelon juice and I tightened my hair. That sounds like a lot.
Yeah. And I did like 3 rows of this.
So remind everyone, including me, what this is.
This is the Milky Way half shawl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the pattern's no longer available on Ravelry. So, but
this is the second one that you've made, right?
You build a great big square, and then you go and you crochet the edges. It's all crochet. The edges
kind of ripple, right?
Yeah, it's like it's almost feather and fan, but in crochet. So.
Is this for you?
It's for my mom. It's my mom's Christmas present. So I have so many Christmas presents.
You got really quiet there. It's your mom's what?
Christmas present.
Okay.
And we've got so many Christmas presents.
I have no idea what the microphone picks up or doesn't, but I heard, it's my mom's. Which I'm a mumbler too, or at least in theory. So I notice it when others do it. I just want you to be heard and understood. So, okay, so I was half paying attention. You hair?
Hair. I tightened all my hair.
Shawl,
and I spun.
Spun, that's right. You were telling me you wanted to get around to spinning. So, okay.
And then I got it's half a bobbin, but it's half the amount that I wanted to spin, so I'm spinning a second set, and then I'll ply those two together.
Did you wear this dress last week when we were filming? I can't remember.
I don't think so.
Well, she has a new dress then.
It's all bright and shiny. I might have showed it off. I can't remember.
It's really pretty.
I couldn't remember if I locked the car today, so Rebecca went.
We're all having issues today. So it's very, very pretty.
Thank you.
And it could be brighter. I think it's nice and bright. It's not like too bright.
It's pretty bright. So.
All right. So is it okay if I?
Yeah. That's all.
Do we have a scale anywhere nearby? There might be one under, can you check under the basket? Because, okay, there's a reason I want to do this. So, starting with my white squirrel thing. So this is the old white squirrel hat sample that we have in the shop that we made all these complicated kits out of. It's with sport weight yarn. I thought the pattern on Knitty, which has red squirrels on it, or, it had a white background with red or brown squirrels. I thought the original pattern was written for DK weight yarn, and I did it on thinner yarn because I had to change needle sizes to get gauge. This is the early days of the shop when I was really nitpicky about stuff. I'm only slightly nitpicky about stuff now. And, it's cute, right? It's actually very tight. It's kind of small. It fits really well on one of the little mannequin heads that we have. So my gauge must still not be right for this because this is the adult size. And I had changed it to have, more colors in it. And anyway, we don't regularly carry this yarn anymore. So I was for a while now, my brain has been like, I really want to make it out of something else so we could make kits. And for some reason my brain I had to go up needle sizes because it was written for a thicker yarn, and I didn't like how some of the stranding showed through on this. I finally sat down and read the pattern over the weekend during the White Squirrel Festival.
Yes.
Shocker, she says. And it's actually written for fingering weight on 2s and 3s, and I had to, in the sport weight, go up to a 5 to get gauge. And so I picked out some DK weight yarn. I picked out the 220 Superwash. I was like, I'm going to try it anyway. And I also simplified it, gauge. I didn't quite get gauge with a 5. I went down to a 5 for this. It usually should be knit on something bigger. It's bigger needles than the pattern calls for. I was still a little over, but I'm like, yeah, it should still hopefully work because they wanted their pattern was it's going to come out 17 inches and you want a size that's 2 to 3 inches smaller than your head. This one, again, because it's color work, is tight on my head. It's very tight. And if I'd gone down needle sizes, it would have been way too tight. This one, so I also decided, because kits with enough colors for the acorns was going to be crazy, and I didn't want to do the complicated, the original pattern just has green top and bottom. So I picked 3 colors. I want to test in a minute how much I used for this hat and how much I had left over. So we might be able to market these kits as you can get 2 hats out of them. To compensate for taking the acorns out, I added in extra rows of blue between the, I add extra rows of green at the bottom, extra rows of, a couple more rows of green, couple more rows of blue, add a couple more rows of blue up here to compensate for the acorns. I don't know if I needed to. It made the hat really tall. I was worried the hat wouldn't be tall enough because for a lot of adult size hats, you go to about 8 inches and then start your decreases. The decreases, because it was written for fingering weight, were decrease and knit 2 rounds and decrease and knit 2 rounds for the first. So, long story long, the hat ends up being a little tall, but comfy. This actually is much more comfy on my head.
It's cute.
This was really tight.
It's a cute little slouchy.
Yeah,
too.
You could take out all the extra rows I put in and not have it be slouchy. I might try to make another one where I'm following the pattern as is, just skipping the acorns. And I think it might even fit better. But I was also trying to keep track of how many hours it took me to make this hat because people always want to buy this one. And it's okay, if I actually wanted to pay myself a decent wage, which my decent wage, I'm putting at $10 an hour, which is not a decent wage, but it is at least something. So 3 balls of this probably cost with tax just under $40. If I only used half of each ball basically for the hat, that's $20 of supplies. I want to say it got hard to keep track. I want to say minimum it took me 5 hours to knit this hat. And there were breaks, but only counting knitting time, maybe 5 hours, maybe 6. That's still, we're talking $80 for this hat. Do you think anyone's going to buy this for $80? I don't think so. At least that's me personally. Because when I look at this hat, as much as I love it, I see where I locked my floats. I might try on my next one to do ladderback jacquard instead to see if it's cleaner. If I haven't blocked this, it could make it all nice and even. But I see someone coming in off the street. I see maybe a knitter understanding why this would be an $80 hat. But I see someone walking in off the street saying, "Ooh, I want to buy that." And I say it's $80. And they're like, "What? Are you kidding?" And I say, "No."
Well, and we would probably price it a little bit higher than $80 because the fact that it's going to sell yarn sitting there.
Well, that's why I would make 2. So I would have one ready to go. But you're right. Sometimes we factor in it sells yarn. It's like that's another thing people walking off the street don't understand is that sells yarn sitting there. So we would have to price it up to make it worth its while to walk out of the shop for me to make another one. And I was like just basic money of what we would charge for it would be $80. Absolutely. But when we try to explain to someone who doesn't knit that this sells more yarn sitting here than it would if we sold the hat, and we have to mark the value is then greater and we mark up the price because of that, they don't understand. And they think we're just inflating prices. And it's like, no, honestly, we're not. Okay, so I have 64 grams of the green left.
So over half a ball.
Over half a ball, because they're 100 grams. Wow, I have 70 grams of the blue left. I would have thought that, like, because this looks smaller to me, kind of. Well, they're about the same. I have 83 grams of the white left.
So you might be able to eke 3 hats out.
That would be super yarn chicken. But yes, it's very possible that I could make 3. So what I'm thinking for starters with this hat is we're going to make kits. And I'm going to print a pattern. Like, the pattern is already written. I wanted to not change the pattern as much as possible. So that's why I didn't change the decreases up top, even though it's a thicker yarn. Because someone else wrote this pattern and they should get credit. It's from a Knitty issue from back in like 2013. I don't want to claim I don't want to claim the pattern is mine. It would be the free Knitty pattern with my chart that goes with it. And I would like to not change the instructions as much as possible. Other than cautioning people, it will come out bigger than the pattern says, which some people have such an issue with. Some people are like, if you're modifying and changing the pattern, this is why I don't carolize things often, because they're like, but the pattern says, and it's like, no, if you follow my instructions, it should work, or it'll work out differently. So I may attempt another version of this with following the pattern directly, except for taking out these acorns, like having fewer of the extra rows, because I think that's actually going to be a nice fit as well. And then I have 2 samples, and then I can also practice the ladderback jacquard. I think I have scheduled a class for this in August. I'm actually scheduling all the way out to August because we only do about 2 classes a month. But this was fun. So White Squirrel weekend, yay! We have a White Squirrel hat for the shop, and I might retire this one because it's kind of a small child size almost. It doesn't really fit. Well, and we're not going to be marketing this yarn anymore.
When you did the math, yours came out to 19 and change.
With my
inches,
gauge, yeah.
With your gauge, which is more standard of an adult hat than 17.
And wanting negative ease on a hat is like wanting it to be smaller in your head so it doesn't fall off is good. But when it's stranded color work, and a lot of people get really tight with their stranded color work, that can be a problem. So you can see that these squirrels are bigger than these squirrels. But I kind of like it. I kind of like how it worked out.
I think that the gauge issue is probably because she wants it a 17, and it's not realistic for an adult hat.
This did not look let me see if I can find it. This did not look small on this person's head, and the kid size and the adult small were the same. Like these pictures and the ones on the back, they did not look as tight as mine. So and again, her stranded color work may have been more spaced out. So Anyway, if you're interested in an in-person class on this hat, let us know. We are still figuring out virtual classes. They are not available yet. They will probably only be available with memberships or something like that. I'm still working on it. Anyway, so, but I digress. Worked on a lot of other things. Even though from like Saturday when I went home basically through Sunday midday, all I worked on was this hat. I did some other things too. So, let's see. I started this past week. I have a short list for our Granny Square crochet along that starts in July. And I've already started. This doesn't mean anyone else has to start super early. I'm super early. I'm like a month early, but that's because I'm going on vacation and other things are happening. And I'm actually really glad that I'm testing this pattern. This is the Scrappy Granny Tee by, her catchphrase name is Hooked Hazel. I want to say it's Emily something. I'll try to put it in the description. Hooked Hazel. I love it. I think she could have clarified several things in her pattern, but as long as you know the clarifications, it's very doable. I haven't done many crocheted garments, so, and this was like top down all over increase t-shirt, you know, so I'm using all these leftovers. If anyone remembers my confetti scarf, it's in a bucket down there. I'll get it next time or later if there's time, but it had all these grays and reds and greens and things held together. The confetti
scarf was like 7 to 15 yard or skeins of yarn.
7. 15 sounds impressive. Yeah. It was on size 15 needles. That's what she's remembering. 7 skeins of fingering weight yarn held together. And I decided not to finish it and bound it off. So my leftovers I'm using as the base palette for this, for the Scrappy Granny Tee. And then I threw in like Bird of Paradise from Cascade Heritage. There's a lot of wave colors in this. So here's where I'm at so far. And it was really hard to get gauge with this. Because, I mean, it's going to be really funky and kind of jarring. But it was really hard to get gauge with this because she said to do it on a G, but then it was 7. This is the first issue I had with the pattern. Is it said 7 clusters for gauge, but she didn't say what those clusters should be. But I had to make the intuitive leap that should be 4 inches because that's what most patterns. That's what the gauge is 4 inches or 10 centimeters. I am on a D hook. It looks like a clown collar right now a little bit, but I'm on a D hook. And my gauge is still not quite small enough, so I'm making one size down from what I probably should for my bust size. And it's going to be, the size is going to be in there somewhere. It's not going to be perfect, but it doesn't have to be perfect as long as it's not too tight. So I'm alternating with gray or one of the gray adjacent colors every other row just to have fun with this. So... and it is kind of fun, and I'm doing a class on this too, and this one's going to be in July. I don't have dates off the top of my head because I'm really bad at remembering numbers. It's in my newsletter. I will try to put it in the description if I remember. There's a lot to remember for today's, but ta-da! So I made some progress on that. Let's see. Whenever there was a time to mindlessly knit, I worked on my tea time tee. I'm really happy with the new sleeves. I'm not going to try this on today because we have other stuff to do, but I made a little more progress on this. It is still not nearly long enough for what's going to be comfortable for me, but I still have a lot of yarn left in my second skein, right? Second skein? Third skein. Third skein. And I have 4 skeins set aside for this, and it is a beautiful color, and I'm really, really excited about it. I'm making that in Cascade Ultra Pima. I am nervous about blocking it because I've heard reports about cotton like this growing when blocked, and usually my advice is to scrunch it back up and let it dry, but cotton doesn't have the same elasticity as wool does, so I'm going to be very careful when I block it. Or I might even like spray it down because the only parts I really think I need to block is the collar. So I may not do a full wet block on this piece. I don't think
you need to. Yeah. I think, I think a lot of times blocking is something that everybody thinks they should, because
and some things benefit from
some
blocking,
things benefit from blocking, but I think that a lot of times you can just, if you look at it and you're like, hey, only the collar needs to be blocked, there's no need to block the entire piece.
I mean, there is the whole washing it, and if you like to wash, I can look at a bunch of things in this shop that other than blocking, I have never felt the need to wash. But I also don't tend to wear, like, something like this I wear a lot, and other stuff just hangs here in the shop, so that could be a reason I don't wash it very often. But a lot of what I make with my knitting are outer layers of clothing, so they're not going to get as stinky, and they might not get as, like, muddy or dirty or things as other stuff, but it's always hard to know. I went a little sock happy over the weekend.
Shocker.
I go through phases of liking socks and not liking socks, but I can't remember. I want to say I was at the Afterthought heel on this one. This was the first experiment with the Ready Set sock book. I was making the sock on the cover, and for some reason I decided to make the middle size because I thought that's what, I also didn't test my gauge very well, but I was like, oh, my foot measures for the middle size of the sock, but that was 72 stitches to cast on. Like, this is big. And it also could be, I'm used to dealing with smaller needles. I'm doing this on a 1.5 needle, which is what the instructions say to do, but I didn't test my gauge. It's also my first experiment with an Afterthought heel. And I think it looks a little floppy. Like, I can put this on my foot. The sock is big anyway. But it kind of works other than being a bit big and oversized. And because I was using color changing yarn, it's kind of fun because the heel comes out a different color. I started making a second one with, this is a 72 stitch cast on. I started making a second one with the 64 cast on. So, you know, it's big and baggy, but it works, right? And I'm actually really enjoying, it feels like it's like going so much faster. That difference of 8 stitches around, oh my gosh. This one I totally stalled out on. The other one is flying. I am past the heel on the other one. And I decided to do a traditional heel on this one. This was finicky. Like, I didn't have to do any heel shaping. I could just put in some scrap yarn for where the heel goes and keep going in a big tube. Figuring out the size and the length was challenging, and then getting all the stitches off that scrap yarn was challenging. And this was intriguing, but I don't know if I want to do it again. And then with this one where you're changing colors every couple of rows for the pattern, to do a traditional like flap heel and turn means the gusset gets stripes too. I'm kind of excited about, and the color change is happening faster and more uniformly. And it almost looks like I changed to a second color after the heel, but it's the color change of the yarn. But I'm actually really excited about having the stripes in the gusset here. I finished the gusset, and like, this is encouraging me to keep going. I also now want to make socks out of just the Perth color changing yarn by itself to see how that goes. Like, I have so many plans and not enough hours in the day. And so, yeah, I will keep you all updated on that. But these will be shop samples for different heels and different sizes of socks with the same needle. And now I want socks for myself. But when am I going to knit them is the question. I want to experiment with the bamboo pop sock as well, which is not a yarn we carry yet. But I didn't even get to that this weekend because there were so many other things going on. This was not over the weekend. I started this before the weekend. But I have started, and we have already run out of this yarn because I started mine. I started my I Am Dragon cowl. This, I'll show you our indie dyer who came for the yarn crawl. This is her sample that we will send back to her eventually. We are out of this green. We had 2 kits of each one. And I asked y'all at the end of an episode, like a week or 2 ago, which one should I make? And it was a close call, but the green eked out the other colors by just like a vote or 2. I started making the green. We instantly sold out of the green. We are almost out of the others. We have one blue or tealy blue, and we have 2 purple left. I am asking the Fiber Fairy to dye up more. We might get them in like by the end of June. But this has like, I strung all the beads on before I started. They're all here. And I will tell you that you'll need a bead needle. I think I've ordered 1 pack for myself. We don't sell bead needles here. I could advise you on what one to buy if you don't have one. Because I found one in some old equipment that I have that worked. So, I like the ones that are really super skinny and like the whole middle of the needle opens up, because then whatever size yarn you have will fit in there. But this one fit through the beads. My smallest sewing needle for just yarn did not. So, but I hope to work on that more, but I got distracted by socks. I got very distracted by these socks this weekend. Because when I made the smaller size that looked like it was going to fit me, it suddenly became a whole lot more interesting. And then when I saw that the traditional heel would lead to stripes, like, I want to make socks that just have stripes like this right now. Like, that's not necessarily following a pattern, like take a basic pattern and just change yarns every 2 rounds. Like, before that sounded like, oh, who wants to do all that work? Now it looks fun. So, that's me right now. But all these things that I'm working on, I haven't touched my Pressed Flowers cardigan in like a week. At some point I'm getting back to that, because I kind of promised people a video for my Tips and Tricks channel about how to do the pressed flowers, how to do garter mosaic in the round, and I haven't done that yet because I haven't gotten a pattern to that point yet. But these other, I needed a break from pressed flowers. I love it. I love how it looks. I needed a break. I've been doing so much of it lately. Anyway,
it's an addictive pattern, and everybody that I know has been like, ooh, let me make at least 2 of the things. And you have done the hat, the shawl, the cowl, and you're working on the cardigan. Mm-hmm. The only thing you haven't done is the pullover.
And we'll see if I even get to the pullover. I probably won't, because there's so many other things going on, and I have enjoyed pressed flowers to its extent. Anyway, so I have a few stories to tell about wildlife in and around my house this morning. Because, yeah, I figure, okay, we got all the fun pattern stuff out of the way for people who would rather hear about that. And I would like to hear about both. But I used to tell mousecapades when there were mice in the house. And I thought there was a mouse in the house, and I put out new satchels everywhere. And the cat was, yesterday, was totally fixated on this corner of the house where usually he chases some mice. And I'm like, I don't hear any mice. I don't see any. This morning, this is a total aside and not the main stories, but this morning I found the remains of a really big cricket. So he was chasing something. I still may be, my new peppermint satchels may keep the mice from coming in. We'll see. But I got out of my bathroom stuff for the morning and went into the bedroom, and my cat was intently staring out the window. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. That's not usual for him. But I didn't think anything of it. And he wandered away from the window and sat down. And I was still starting to get ready. Not wearing much. That's, because I'd just done my bathroom stuff. I'd just gotten up. And I think I heard something out the window. But again, the cat wasn't watching anymore. So I went and peeked out. My window's open like this far, and the rest of it has privacy film on it. I look out. And there's 2 little baby bear cubs between my house and my neighbor's house. And we probably have maybe 50 feet between the houses, maybe 100 feet or so. There's not much space between our houses. Part of the reason the privacy film's there. But there's a couple of trees. There's 2 or 3 chunky, tall trees between our houses. And they're just milling around at the base of the trees. They're like, I want to say they were probably closer to my dog size. He was 25 pounds. They were not quite Avi sized. They were almost small enough to be Avi sized. Like Avi could have actually taken them on. They were adorably cute. And I was instantly like, where's mama? Because they're between, I'm just like, oh, poop. And they're kind of half crawling up the tree and plopping down and trying another tree. And I'm also thinking my neighbor, who she's got a walkway that wraps around her roundhouse between her houses, usually walks her dog this time of day. So I was like, So at first I'm watching them and I'm taking some photos and they're so cute. And I went, I should let my neighbor know that there's bears. And I texted her. And as I texted her and I was also taking video, they one of them was wandering around my driveway, my side driveway. And then they both went up the same tree. By went up, I mean, they went up like 20 to 30 feet. They were doing little stuff. And I was like, bears climb. Oh my gosh. They climbed way up and were gone. And that was right about when I texted her. And of course I look over and she has come out of her house to see them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm still going, where's mom? We haven't seen mom this whole time. I'm a little worried. And so I called out to her through the window. I was just like, oh, be careful. And she got a wonderful picture, because my pictures are all through the screen of, the other bedroom. I am more clothed at this point. I was more clothed when I texted her, just in case. The other bedroom doesn't have privacy film, but it still has a screen. So taking pictures through it, I'll try to put some pictures at the end of this video. I'll try to remember to do all that before I post. The screen's in the way and it kind of distorts the image. So she sent me one where she stood under the tree and looked up and took some pictures, and the bears are looking down at her. And I'm realizing and they didn't come down, and they weren't coming down. And I'm realizing probably because of us talking and her being out there, they were afraid to come down. And she also hadn't walked her dog yet, and we're texting back and forth, and she's like, I don't know if I should take my dog out. And I said, well, I have to go get ready. And I was also going downstairs and trying to look out the window, because I'm doing all this for my second story. And I went in to make coffee, which means I can't see what's going on. And we're still texting, and I was like, maybe if you just run out real fast and run back, because, like, I don't see mama, and they're safe up in the tree, and, you know, if it's a desperate situation. And I head back into the filming room to check something out, because I still hadn't done my morning filming yet. I just posted before we filmed here, because I went into the shop not long after this. But I look out and I'm like, that's not the baby bears. What I looked out and saw was Mama Bear had come up, and Mama Bear was like adult size bear. Like, Mama Bear was big, and she was right at the base of the walkway of my neighbor's house. And I just suddenly went, oh no. I tried to grab some pictures, but I was like, I gotta text my neighbor. I gotta warn her not to come out of the house, because we had just been texting about her taking her dog out, and now Mama's watching to make sure no one comes out of this house, so her babies, because I was watching the babies get down. She basically came to be like, babies get down so you can get... She came to be the guard so they could get out of this tree that was right between our houses. And so I furiously texted her and said, don't come out of your house. The mama is right. Like, I fired off a quick photo. I'm like, the mama is right at the base of your walkway. Like, don't come. I was worried that she was going to walk right into this bear. And then I filmed a few, like, almost a minute of video where she's at the base of the walkway. One baby's already come down. The other baby's scooting their little butt down. And then they walk off into the woods. And I said, okay, I think she's gone now. That's when my neighbor called me and said, thank you for letting me know. I am out with the dog right now. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, it was probably because she came out with her dog. That was the second thing that made Mama say, okay, this isn't safe anymore. I need to get my babies out of here. It was like best case scenario, but it was like they were right outside my house. And I want a bear. I know. Liz wants a bear. And I'm like, they were so adorably cute, but no, you do not. Oh my gosh, Mama was ready. Mama was in high gear. That's why I did not leave my house the whole time this happened. I was like, where's Mama? And so that all happened. And that's when I was like, hey, let's order lunch today, because I don't have the focus or energy or time to make my lunch anymore. And then I went in to get ready to reheat my coffee after filming, to get in here, and the cat's now the cat's in the kitchen. He's been like my canary in the coal mine this whole morning. Now he's in the kitchen and he's staring up and he's like, wow. And he was not he meowed at me once I saw the bears, but before this he was making no noise. He knows better than make noise when there's bears around. And I look up and there's probably a hornet, again the size of my thumb, trapped in my overhead light in the kitchen. I have one of the, fluorescent light rectangle covers in the kitchen. It's a small kitchen. And I was just like, Cat even jumped up on the counter, and I didn't yell at him because I'm like, at least I know he's keeping an eye on this thing for me. I left the light on. I hunkered down low and got in there to get my travel mug and left again, and I came into the shop.
Is the light still on?
Yes.
He'll probably fly himself to death.
I hope so. I mean, I don't like killing things, but I hope so. That's why I left the light on. I was like, I'm leaving the light on, so I turn the light off. He's gonna find his way out of there. He's gonna say, "Ooh, light over there now, light over there." And I don't. I left my my racket plugged in.
Oh, good. I was going to suggest that you plug that in.
Mm-hmm. That's the other thing that I got. The plug for it was in the kitchen. The racket was upstairs. I went and got those things and kept listening for the buzzing in the kitchen to make sure it was still in the kitchen. It is plugged in the bathroom that's right by my front door. So that when I go home tonight, I'm going to go in the front door, I'm going to get the racket and turn it on, and I'm going to hunt around my house. Or I'm just going to investigate.
We're hunting hornets.
No. It is just like so I woke up and was like, how am I going to get to my car? Because there's bears outside, and then there were hornets inside. And I had a morning where but the bears were cute. When I was safe, the bears were cute. But I had a morning where I'm just like, I am over living in the woods at this point. I will be fine with them again. But, oh my God, yes?
I still have not seen a bear. Like, in the...
Want to come stay at my house with the hornets, and then you can see a bear?
No, because there's also
spiders.
And,
Yes. I've had one big spider.
Yes, but where there's one, I know there's more. It's a thing.
I know. I saved one out of my sink yesterday because I think it's the one that's been hanging out in my bathroom. It's very small. It's very cute. I think it's been
those two.
It's been my friend for like a month, and it probably died on the floor, but I didn't want it to die drowned in my sink. So I don't know. Anyway, when it's too big, I call for help. When it's smaller, we try to socially avoid each other. Hornets are another matter, though. Oh my gosh, this means it was somewhere else in my house before it got in the light, and I've been listening ever since that other one, and sometimes I hear them, and I feel like they don't sound like they're in the house, though. They sound like they're above the house or out back. But every time I hear it, and it sounds like it's above the house, I'm worried it's in the house somewhere. So anyway, I digress. I live in the woods, and sometimes that's fun, and sometimes that's not fun. So it's hard to hang out right outside my house right now. Like, I'm actually really seriously thinking about either crocheting or just buying a paper hornet's nest.
I have a pattern for
Yeah. I'm thinking I might need to do that. But someone else might, Liz or someone else might be able to answer this. Like, what if they've already built their nest, will they move if another nest appears?
I don't know.
Or will they just consider that, the other nest is being rude and ignore it?
I think some of it's folklore, some of it's how they feel for the day, who knows?
The folklore is if you make a fake hornet's nest, the hornets won't make a nest near it.
Yeah.
But this is the second one that's if it's already made its nest, I'm screwed. So this is either the second or the third hornet I've seen that's as big as my thumb in or around my house. I don't know if this is the same one I saw on my back porch, but I imagine they're not singularly solitary animals, creatures. Don't they swarm?
There's a nest somewhere. But sometimes they nest in dead wood, dead trees, dead...
That would be my deck, probably.
Well, but you live in the woods. So
I know.
if there's a tree that fell over, they're in that tree.
Well, and that's the thing with the last house with Brian's house, was we had a summer where they would swarm the outside light and they would dive bomb us going in and out of the house. And we never saw a nest on the house. We think there was a nest nearby in the trees.
Yeah.
And so we couldn't, the exterminator wouldn't be able to take care of that for us because it wasn't attached to the house. So anyway.
But it seems
it's been a morning.
For everybody that has hornets, they're attracted at night to light. So they're like moths in that sense that,
Which is why I don't want to be at my house at night right now. Anyway. I wonder. Yeah, we need to go. I wonder if this, I don't think it was hanging out in the hammock stand this whole time and just flew out of the hammock stand.
I don't think so.
But how did it get in my house? There's options for how it got in my house. I have a lot of holes between my upper floors and the attic space, and
they're sneaky enough that when you open a door,
but they're so big and noisy. You think I would have heard it?
Yeah, but not. If you're jingling your keys and
I want to be freaking out every time I enter and leave my house. But anyway,
I've had things fly in when I'm going through the door.
I have too, but not usually a hornet.
Or they wait at the bottom. And they just kind of crawl in, and then they start flying.
I don't want to go home now.
My day worse.
Anyway, we need to go. We have some packages. We actually only have about 10 minutes till the shop opens. But thank you for listening to my stories. If you want more details, let me know. I will try to put videos in at the end. I have a lesson this morning, so we'll see when I get this up, but I'll try to put in some of my videos and my neighbor's cute pic of the bears that probably brought Mama to the area. Anyway, so it's going to be a day. Yay! May's almost over. Okay.
Like, subscribe, ring the bell, all the fun stuff.
We have virtual sit and stitch tonight from 7 to 9 p.m. You can get into Zoom with the shop phone number.
828-877-3550.
We have it again on Friday, and this Sunday is finally one of our monthly. It's totally not in the right place for it, but we didn't do one in May, so we're kind of splitting the difference for May and June and having one the very first Sunday in June. So that is going to be on Facebook Live and Zoom from 1 to 5 p.m. East. All of this is Eastern time for the U.S., and again, that's that shop phone number to get in, or go to our Facebook page just to see what's going on, to check out. You'll see me and hear Zoom. But that is this Sunday, June 4th. And I will try to advertise that on social media for people who don't watch the show. Thank you all so much for partaking in the sale for 1,500 subscribers. Our next sale will probably be at 2,000 subscribers, so if you haven't subscribed, it's free to do so, and start gaining traction on that next sale. We always have something going on, like, every month in terms of some kind of sale. You just gotta, pay attention. So, all right, we gotta go. We love y'all. We'll update you if there's more shenanigans with creatures. And yeah, anyway. Bye.